Hey, what is going on everybody? It is Rob, aka The Diligent Dev, and welcome to part 3 of our Tinder style movie night picker. In this section, we're going to be adding partner search and allowing users to add their partner as a partner inside of our application. So let's go ahead and jump over to the computer and get right into it. Okay, so here we are over at the computer, and I have our project loaded up and a development server running. Now, the first thing we're going to do to add a partner is edit our Vuex store and specifically the users module inside of it. So we'll go to src, store, modules, user. On this state object, we're going to be storing our partner ID, and it will also be stored in the users collection of our Firebase Firestore. So in state, we're just going to say partner ID and set that to null. On our set user data, now we need to add this for when the user logs in. So we'll say state.partnerID equals payload.partnerID. Then we're also going to need a new mutation whenever a partner is added for the first time. So we're going to say set_partner_ID. We will pass in the state and the payload. And we're just going to say state.partnerID equals payload. And we're also going to need an action when the partner ID is set for the first time. So we're going to say set partner ID, pass in context and the ID. And then we're going to say context.commit. And we will call our mutation from above. So we'll say set_partner_ID, and we will pass it the ID. And we'll go ahead and save all of that. Since we've gone ahead and updated the state, we need to update it where we're calling this set user data. So we're going to go to views, signin.view. And right here on the set user data, we're going to say partner ID, and we will set that to user data.partner ID, and if it doesn't exist, we'll just set it to a blank string. Now on this sign up page, we're not going to have a partner ID, so we'll find this, and we're just going to set partner ID to a blank string. And I'm going to go ahead and save everything. The next thing we're going to do is add a new file to our views and call it add partner.view. Inside of here, we'll put a template tag, and we'll just put an H1 in here that says add partner for a placeholder. And we'll go ahead and save that. Next, we will head over to our router, index.js. And inside of our router, we have this about page that we don't care about anymore. So we're just going to say add partner for the path of it. Then we're going to make the name add partner. I'm going to go ahead and delete all these comments in here. They're kind of just taking up blank space. And we'll head here, we'll change the Webpack name to add-partner. And we need to import that view that we added earlier. And we'll go ahead and save all of that. I'm going to go ahead and also add a guard to this. So we're going to say before enter and set that to guard. And that way only authenticated users can get to this page. Then I'm going to go ahead and save everything. We will log in. And then I'm going to go to /add partner. And we see we have our add partner page ready to go. So we'll head back to add_partner.view, and we will go ahead and create our script tag. And then we'll create a data property. We'll have a form property, and we'll set that to false. And this is what we'll use to check our validations. We'll do an isLoading so that when people search for a partner, it shows a overlay. When people add their partners, we'll show a toast notification of whether or not it went through successfully. So the first thing we'll say is toast color, and we'll just set that to a blank string. Then we'll say toast message. We'll also set that to a blank string. We're also going to have an email that they're going to be searching on. We'll set that to a blank string. We'll do found user, and we will set this to null right now. We'll do message, and we will set this to a blank string. Then we're going to have some rules for our form. So I'll say rules, set that to an object, and we want to make sure that it is a valid email. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see that they've passed in an email. So we'll say double equals v, or else we'll have a blank string, and then we'll do dot match. And we will pass in a regex here, and we're just going to make sure that an @ symbol is present. And if it's not, we're just going to say, please enter a valid email. I'll close this down so we can see a little bit better. Hit Alt-Shift-F to format everything, and then below our data property, we're going to do a methods prop. And in here, we're just going to stub out a couple of methods that we'll be using later. We'll say async search user by email, and that's what we'll fire when we search for our user. And then we'll do another async method where we add user as partner, and we will pass in an ID to that. Up in the template tag, we'll just go ahead and remove this h1. We'll add a div. I'm going to do a v overlay. We'll give it a value equal to is loading. Inside of the v overlay, we're going to do a v progress circular. We're going to give it a couple properties. We'll say color is primary. We'll make it indeterminate, and we'll give it a size equal to 64. Alt-Shift-F to format that. Underneath our v overlay, we're going to do a v container. Then we're going to do a v card. Inside of the v card, we'll do another v container. Up at the top, we'll give it an h2 and say partner search. And then underneath this h2, we'll give a paragraph tag, and we'll say search for your partner by email. Underneath that, we will do a v row. Then we'll do a v form. We will give it a ref equal to form and a v model of form as well. Inside of our form, we're going to do a v call. And we're going to give this column a class equal to d inline flex. And that way it's going to put our button beside our text box instead of underneath of it. And then we'll do a v text field. We'll give it a v model of email. We'll give it rules, set that to an array, and we're just going to pass it the email rule. So we'll say rules.email. We'll make this a filled text field. We'll give it a label of email address, and we'll set the type to email. Alt-Shift-F to format. Go back here. Next, underneath the text field, we'll give it a V button, and we'll bind to the click events, and we'll set that to search user by email. We will make it disabled if we're going to make this button disabled if our form value is false. We're going to make it large, color of primary, and then we're also going to give it a class of ml-2 to give it some margin left and some margin top to make it centered in the column. And lastly, we're just going to give it a text of search. I'm going to Alt-Shift-F to format all of that. I'm actually going to take this down on a different line. Next, under our v row down here, we will do another v row. And we'll do a v if on this, and we'll say v if found user. And this is where we will display the information if we find a user. We'll do a v call. We're going to give this a class of d inline flex. Inside of this column, we'll do a v card. Then inside the card, we'll do vcard text. And in here, we'll do a div. And inside of the div, we'll do found user.email. And then below our div, we will do a paragraph tag. We will give it a class of display-1 and text-primary. And then inside of that paragraph tag, we will say found user.name. And then below this paragraph tag, we'll do another div, and we'll give this a class of text-primary. And inside of this div, we'll just say to add this user as a partner, click the add button below. Hit Alt-Shift-F to format that. And then underneath our vcard text, we're gonna do a vcard actions. And this is where our buttons are gonna live. So we'll say vButton. We will give it a color of primary, and on click, we will call our add user as partner method, and we will pass in the found user.id. Then we will give this button text of add. Next, we're going to come down to this v row and add another v row. And this is where we will display the message if there was no user found. So we're going to say v if message. We'll do a vcall. And then inside of that, we'll do an h3 and we'll display the message. Hit Alt-Shift-F to format that. I don't like the way it formatted this, so I'm going to move that to a new line and hit Alt-Shift-F again. And then down here underneath of our V card, we're going to do a V snack bar. We're going to give it a timeout of 3000, so it'll display for 3 seconds. We'll give it a value equal to show toast. We'll make it absolute. We'll make it on the bottom and also on the right. And then we'll give it a color equal to toast color. Down here at the bottom, I forgot to add show toast as a property, so we will just say show toast, and we will set that equal to false. Then I'm going to go ahead and save everything, and we see we have an error here, and it looks like it's because we passed an ID here, but we never used it. So for now, I'm just going to say console.log ID. And I'm going to save everything again. And now we see we have our add partner form. Next, we'll go ahead and work on search users by email. So what I'm going to do is come down here, and first we're going to say this.isLoading, and we're going to set that equal to true. So our overlay displays. Then we're going to say this.message equals a blank string to clear it out every single time, and we'll say this.foundUser equals null, so we clear the user every time. Then we're going to say const snapshot equals await db, and we have not imported it, and we also need to import Firebase. So up here at the top, we're going to say import Firebase from Firebase, and then we're also going to say imports db from main. So we'll come back down and we'll say dot collection. We're referencing the users collection, and we're going to say dot where the field that we're searching by, so email, and it has to be equal to, and then this dot email, and then finally dot get. Hit Alt-Shift-F to format that. Now, unfortunately, with Firebase, this is going to have to be the exact email. We can't do a fuzzy search. We'd have to implement something else. But for now, this will work just fine. After our snapshot, we're going to say if !snapshot dot empty to check that it is not empty. We'll say const user ID equals snapshot dot docs. We're going to grab the first document out of there because we should only have one email per user. And we'll grab the ID. And then we'll say const user data equals snapshots dot docs. Grab the first document in the array and data. So we get all the data associated with that user. Then we're going to set this dot found user. And we'll set that to an object. We're going to say ID equals user ID. And then we'll use the spread operator on user data to pass everything else in there. And we need 3 periods there. If the snapshot is empty, we'll do an else. And we'll say this dot message equals no user with that email found. And we're just going to go ahead and save everything. Then we're getting an error because we imported Firebase and never used it. And now that I think about it, we don't even need Firebase. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that out of there and hit save. And then I'm just going to search for myself. So we'll say rob@diligentdev.com. Click on search and there must be an error. So let's go ahead and inspect. And if we look at our errors, it's saying property or method search users by email is never defined. So I'm missing the S here, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. And we'll try this again. And it looks like we're not finding that user, and we also forgot to stop the loader. So down here below the else, we're going to say this dot is loading equals false. I'm going to go ahead and save everything again. I'm going to put the email back in. So we'll say rob@diligentdev.com. I'm going to go ahead and search, and we're still getting that. So what I'm going to do is head over to Firebase. And I think I see what the issue is. It's that I have a capital R on that.
So this was a bad design, and we're going to go ahead and fix this right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to our signup.view. We're going to go to where we actually create the user. And when we create a user, we're going to take this .email and make it to lowercase. We're also going to go to the sign in. We will go to this .email when we're signing in the user and also make that to lowercase. And then lastly, we'll go to add partner and we'll make this email to lowercase. I'm going to go ahead and save everything. And so that way, when a user signs up, we automatically make their email completely lowercase. We also check it on sign in, and we'll check it when someone is searching for a partner. So what I'm going to do is head back to Firebase. We'll go ahead and just manually fix this right now and update it. Then we'll come back to our partner search. And I'll type that in. And we will search. And we see now we're getting my user. If we were to make this uppercase, we see we search and we still get the user. And now that the partner search is working, let's go ahead and work on the add user as partner logic. So we're going to go ahead and delete this console log. And then we're going to wrap everything in a try catch. Up here in the try block, we're going to say const auth user ID is equal to this $store state user ID. Then we're going to say await db collection, and we're referencing the users collection doc. And we're going to pass that auth user ID in to grab the actual user that's logged in document. And then we're going to say update. And we're going to pass it an object. And we're just going to say partner ID. And we're going to set it equal to the ID that we pass in. Next, we're going to say this .store .dispatch. And we're going to dispatch the user /set partner ID. And we're going to pass in the ID. Last, we're going to display the toast. So we'll say this toast color equals success. We'll also say this toast message equals partner added successfully.
And then we'll say this dot show toast equals true. Now, in the event that they weren't added successfully, I'm going to go ahead and just copy all these toast variables. We're going to take them down to the catch block and paste them in there. I'm going to say the toast color is red. Then I'm going to say an unexpected error has occurred. Please try again. And then we will also show the toast. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and save all of this. The next thing I'm going to do is head back to our sign up page. And I'm going to sign up as a different user. So we'll just say test at test.com, and set a password. Go ahead and click sign up. And we're taken back to this page. Then I'm going to go back to the sign in page, which is actually at the root. And I'm going to sign in as Rob at Diligent Dev. And go ahead and sign in. Then I'll go to the add partner page. And I will search for test at test.com. And then I will go ahead and add this user. And we see that our toast message was displayed, but there was nothing in it. So up here in our snack bar, we need to actually pass that toast message. I'm going to go ahead and save, reload, test at test.com, and go ahead and add them. And we see partner added successfully. And if we head back over to Firebase, we'll go ahead and look in authentication to make sure that user was added. We see that the user was added. Go to Cloud Firestore, and we see now we have 2 users. And you'll see that this is the user ID of test.com, and now it is set up as my partner ID. Now, one last thing we're going to want to do is give the user the ability to get to the Add Partner page. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. We'll go back to File Explorer, and we're going to go to app.view. Now, in this app bar, we're going to put a button in here, but first underneath this data property, I'm going to put a computed prop. And we're just going to say user ID. And we're going to set that to return this.store.state.user.id. And up here in the app bar, we're going to put a v button. We're going to say v-if user ID. We're going to put a to property of /add-partner. We're going to add a text prop to make it a text button, and then we're just going to say add partner. Go ahead and save all that, and we see we now have an add partner button. So if we were to go to our home page and then click on the add partner button, it will take us to the partner search. So it's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. In our next video, we're going to be looking at adding movies and allowing the users to thumb up and thumb down those movies. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and enable notifications so you'll get notified when that new video comes out. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. And until next time, happy coding.